Welcome to Ready to Heal. I'm your host, Betsy Sawyer Galen, and I'm going to introduce you to many different healing modalities. Some of them you've heard of, some you have never heard of. Today we're going to talk about crystals, and my guest is Laurelle Rethke. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
I am fascinated with crystals, as I told you before, and I've purchased some crystals from you. You know everything about them. I wanted to find out a little bit more about what your background is and how did you get interested in working with crystals?
Well, like all children, I think I first discovered them that week in science class in the 7th grade where they pull all the crystals out, and I was like, oh, this is the only week I was interested in science. I think all through school. So I had a natural affinity with them, and I always wore them. In my 20s, I usually wore a piece of amethyst, but I didn't really start exploring it fully until a few years later, and I've been working with them now for pretty intensely for about 8 years. I think I was walking with a friend at the New Life Expo in Manhattan, and every time we come to a crystal table, I'd be like, hold on. And I'd look at every crystal there and just sort of take the energy in with my eyes and sometimes touching and holding them. And then once I finished doing that, I'd pop back up and start talking to my friend and keep walking through the expo until the next crystal table. So it's around that time that I started realizing there's something really interesting here for me that I need to explore and I want to explore. So that's how I really got started working with them intensely.
Okay. And can you tell me something about what the history is of using crystals? Like what things can people use crystals for besides aesthetically they're pleasing?
They're very pleasing, and we take in the energy of them through our eyes, but also through our electromagnetic field around our bodies. Just being in close proximity to them, they will shift our energetic field.
I wanted to ask you more about that. Are they electrical? Are they magnetic? I know like they put them in watches. They put them in a lot of computers, right. And so I mean they have properties that everybody understands they have. But what exactly are they magnetic? Are they?
Well, they're all a little bit different because they have different minerals and elements within them. But quartz specifically, which is a silicate, and this piece has some other things in the quartz. They call it included quartz. But quartz specifically, if you apply heat and pressure just by holding it in your hand, it creates an electrical pulse. It's called piezoelectric. I may butcher that name, but piezoelectric is what it is, and that's why they put them in watches and computers, because it emits an electrical pulse back. Okay. Crystals are also known to hold information, and now they're even starting to work with crystals as memory chips because they will hold memory a lot longer of information than the current chips that are being used.
And how does that work? I have no understanding of that whatsoever. So
I'm not sure on the details. It's a new thing that's just being worked on right now. But my understanding is it will hold the information, the data or information for thousands of years as opposed to hundreds of years.
In a computer?
In a computer. And I'm thinking it's from certain etching that they're doing on it, but I really don't know the details. It's so new that they've really started working with them in this way. However, you asked about the history of it. In what's been talked about a lot in the crystal community is that crystals were always used to hold information, and if you're open to the idea that there was a civilization before the written one that we know about, they say in Atlantis the crystals were used to hold information for all of their computer systems, and that many crystals actually still have this encoding in it. So if you see a quartz crystal with a lot of striations or lines on it going across it, this isn't a great example, but that's actually stored information in the crystal that if you know how to work with the energies of the crystal, you can access.
Like what kind of information could you get? A person could get that information by holding the crystal?
Yes, holding the crystal, meditating with the crystal, and working with the crystal.
And what kind of information would they get? Like, give me an example of some information that it could hold.
Well, some people have downloaded information about what happened in Atlantis or what they feel happened in Atlantis from the work that they've done with it. Sometimes people just hold a crystal and they get information about the crystal itself. But I'm sure there's a myriad of things. I haven't personally done as much of that, trying to download information from the Atlantean crystals. That's not really my calling as much as working with them in healing. So that's what I have. That's about all I know about that subject.
Okay. And you, when we were talking before, I know I asked you about holding them in different hands, and does that make a difference?
Yeah.
As a healer or as a person being healed?
Well, in general, the left side of the body is the feminine side or the receiving side of the body, and the right side of the body is the masculine or action side of the body. So working with crystals, I usually tell people to put them in their left hand, and they'll receive more of the information and energy than putting it in their right hand, which is more for taking action. So as a crystal healer, if I do take a quartz crystal or any other wand and move it up the body to get energy flowing, I would use the right hand because that's me taking action with the crystal. Or if I'm working on sending out loving energies to the world and the universe, I would use the crystal in my right hand. But if I'm trying to feel the energy of a crystal or take in the healing properties of it, I use the left hand.
Oh, okay.
And the hands are very powerful. I know a lot of people are familiar with the chakra system, which are the energy vortexes or energy centers in the body, the main energy centers. But we also have small chakras in the hands and in the feet. So by placing a crystal in the hand, there is an energetic connection that's happening, and we're able to receive or to give through these energy channels, which come basically from the heart and down the arms.
And are any of these? I know I've held like a quartz crystal before. I've held one, and I can feel a pulse in my hand when Do all of these stones have the same effect?
All of the quartz certainly does, and there are other stones that have that piezoelectric effect, and definitely will. Sometimes it's a pulsing specifically from that energy that gets sparked, but sometimes the pulsing is also within us. And so that option or that possibility is something that could happen with any crystal that you hold. And it's usually a personal experience. I've taught a lot of classes where each person has a different relationship to the stone. So if there's something that within the stone, either in the crystalline structure or in the minerals present, or even how the crystal was formed, that needs to be taken into the body in some way, there can be a pulsing that will happen while the body is receiving it.
Oh, okay. I wanted to ask you too, are there any particular types of problems, health problems or issues that crystals are particularly used for healing?
If there's an ailment or a disease going on, there's usually a crystal that can help soothe it. Fluorite is known for not only balancing the brain, but soothing the emotions. It brings us to our most nourishing self. And if you just look at it, it's sort of soothing to look at and hold. Calcites, all the calcites are really good for getting flow and movement going through the body. So if there's any stagnation, it will help to release some of that. There's stones that are really excellent for reducing inflammation, which is really important for almost any ailment that comes in. So anything.
What type of stone would be good for reducing inflammation?
That I can't think of in the moment, which is why I didn't mention it.
Oh, that's okay. Well, you know what? You'll come back another time and we'll talk about some of those specifics. I wanted to ask you too, like say, for example, somebody's dealing with chronic back issues.
Really great stone for chronic back issues would be selenite. I mentioned to you that each of these selenite pieces has long, straight crystals going through it. So and they're all lined up in a row. So this is a great stone to use anywhere along the body to bring in an alignment. And if you place this under your bed when you sleep, it will help to realign the spine physically, as well
all the way
as
under the bed.
All the way
Not
under the
under
bed, right under where you sleep. If you lay it, along the spine, the way your spine lies, it's really good for aligning that. Not only physically, but remember, crystals are also energetic. So a lot of disease that comes into the body comes in through the auric field, first to the spiritual, then the mental, then the emotional, and then the physical before it comes into the physical body itself. So crystals, especially, for instance, quartz, is really good at working on that spiritual level where our disconnection from source first happens, where our fear or disconnection from love comes in. Wherever we have a little schism in that way, that's usually showing up in the spiritual body first. And then it'll come into our mental or emotional body, and where there can be some healing then. But if we don't resolve it before that, it'll come into the physical body itself. So crystals are really good at working on both the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies to bring the whole body into alignment. So it's a very holistic approach to healing.
And how many sessions would a person need? I mean, I know that's a very general question, and I'm sure that's not easy to answer, but do you have any?
It is.
Okay.
It's really about each person's own, it's about each particular person. Each person is going to be different. Some people will come in and they'll get one crystal healing and they'll be completely aligned for months and not need to do any other work. Some people have more going on that needs to be cleared and more things that need to come into alignment so they can really be in touch with that divine energy, which brings healing to everything.
Well, what type of health issue would come to your mind if I said, what type of issue are you most likely to be healing with crystals? Could you come up with something?
A lot of things. A lot of times I'll work with feminine issues, with issues around grounding, with issues around people not feeling protected or safe in some way. A lot of people just need to release. They're in a place where they are having a lot of stress and they just need to release and get some flow back into their life and realignment. Some people, I've made several jewelry pieces for people who have migraines because crystals work really great for even simple things like migraines. Releasing that energy, I've had people come to me and say after a year of wearing the talisman that I made for them that they haven't had a migraine since. So
wow,
there's if there's any ailment or disease, it can be treated.
Wow. We have run out of time, unfortunately, today, and I hope you will come back and we can talk about, I have a lot more questions for you, and I don't know if you got to take a look at some of these stones. We'll talk about, there are so many different stones. They each have their own personality and properties, and I'm taking this. I really like this. I'm drawn to this.
Yeah.
And we can talk about what they are and what the significance is. So thank you for coming.
Thank
you
you.
for
I would
watching
love to come
Ready
back.
to Heal, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So now we'll come to the crystal healing segment where I'm going to do some laying on of stones.
And now what are you going to treat anything in particular?
Is there something you would like to focus on? Or just a general alignment and healing?
I think general alignment and healing. Okay. That sounds great.
That's what I was going to go with. And I'm going to start with some stones for grounding. Separate your legs just a touch. So I'm using smoky quartz to connect your energy field to the Earth's energy field. Galena for transformation and feminine energies. Some black tourmaline just to set the space protect your auric field.
And does that go just by the feet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by the feet to ground the energies. Some Shiva Lingam for feminine and masculine balance, and some serpentine to connect to earth energies. Some labradorite, because you must have some mystic wisdom and learning that's coming in. And just some red jasper at your hips for nurturing, grounding, soothing.
I can feel that. Is that normal? I can feel that.
It is normal. Sometimes people won't feel the grounding stones quite as much, but it's there to set the space. We want to make sure that you're grounded before putting higher energy stones on you to bring in healing and alignment. And I said, before the segment, I said I pulled a lot of garnets, different variety of garnets for you. So spessartine garnet is going right where your hands are.
Oh, should I move my hands? Okay.
So that's very grounding and soothing, and some carnelian next to it for more soothing. The garnet's about strength. It's a very beautiful, sparkly piece. And some red calcite right there for movement and flow.
Wow, I can really feel this.
I know a lot of people are like, oh, I had no idea. Again, some red garnet next to your hips for more solidity and strength. And I'm getting a nice sparkly sunshine spirit quartz for the main crystal at your solar plexus. Wow, more garnets. So it's just what shows up for me and what sort of says, hey, pick me. Whatever calls my attention is how I know what to bring. Some dravite. So here we go. It does seem like there will be a lot of crystals on you today. So I'm activating the solar plexus while also bringing soothing and calming energies around it. Soak up too much excess energy with a piece of amber. And then kunzite seems to be the main heart chakra stone, which is a more rare stone.
Oh.
But I'm going to put some...
Not rose quartz?
Well, I'm going to put some rose quartz and pink tourmaline right next to it. This is sort of what Katrina Raphael calls the heart trinity.
Okay.
Is kunzite with rose quartz crystals. I have crystalline version. And some pink tourmaline. Then we're going to put some green stones around that. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is for you, too. Something called chrome trimolite, which is a rare stone only found in New York.
Oh.
Some green tourmaline. I'm getting called to put this.
I can feel energy right here in my head from that.
From the green tourmaline placing?
From something that you just put there.
So I'm putting blue lace agate, which is very cooling and soothing for the throat. And I'm putting some blue chalcedony, which is pretty much the same thing, right near it, but has a little bit different properties. And some turquoise right on top of that. Green garnet just poked its head out and said, I want to come to her heart too. Interesting. Okay. So I'm getting hemimorphite and larimar also just to support the throat chakra. And the main stone that seems to come out for your third eye is azurite with some sparkly little crystals in it. Does that feel okay to you?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. There you go. It's okay?
Mm-hmm. Feels like
There
it
it
wants to bounce off.
Well, you know, the main crystally part wants to go right flat on your forehead, it looks like. I was trying to show the camera. All right, yeah. So I'm going to put some aragonite over your head.
And what is that?
Aragonite's very soothing in connection to earth energies, but in the coral form, it seems to also be like a growing and connection up to source energy. and some selenite right above that, which connects you to your personal spirit guides. Some blue kyanite. And the stones just sort of tell me where they want to go and how they want to be there. Oh, goodness. You've got a lot at the crown. Celestite, which you said you felt an affinity towards.
Yeah.
There's something I saw. Oh, this. Okay. Apophyllite for bringing in interdimensional light. So you've got some angel connection things happening along with spirit guide connection.
And can you explain what you mean by that?
There's just certain stones that have an affinity towards connecting to different angelic energies. So angel energies would be, oh, I knew there was something, calcite. And, pardon, angel energies are connecting to the angelic realm, which is, if you consider it a hierarchy, there's angels and spirit guides and fairies, or our own personal true spirit self, and then fairies and other elementals. So different energies different stones connect to different energies in these energetic realms. And so, for instance, the celestite has a strong connection to Archangel Michael, or Michael. And kyanite in general is for inner bridges, so it's bridging up to that angel energy. Apophyllite is for interdimensional light, which also includes interdimensional energy beings. The selenite, as we discussed, connects to your own personal spirit self. And let me just finish placing. I put a few, interesting. I put a few crystal points here at your heart, just to send energy in towards that area for healing. And I think we are done. So normally I would let someone sit with the crystals for as long as they feel comfortable, anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes. But in general, we get the effects of them as soon as they come into our field. And what's happening is your entire energy field is aligning to the crystal DNA, or the crystalline structure that goes through the crystals. It's aligning with the different elements that are present, or different minerals that are present in each crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, we can even absorb this through the skin. But mostly it's cleansing and balancing your entire auric field, or the electromagnetic field around the body.
Mm-hmm.
Just to bring us back into a place of alignment and connection to the earth below us, through us, and up into source, or God, creator, divine energy. So how do you feel?
I feel good, and as you were putting on these different stones, I'm aware of the energy of them. I can feel them in the places that you're putting them, or sometimes in other places. Like I was telling you, I felt a couple of them I felt on the left side of the top of my head. So I don't know why, but I just felt that.
Well, you're bright and shiny and beaming. I can sense that your auric field is fairly cleansed at this point, and aligned with the energy frequencies that are present. So,
and how long are the effects of this, of a treatment?
It can last. It depends on the person and their sensitivities. It can last anywhere from 7 to 10 days. And when I do a crystal healing on someone, as with any other work, whether it's essential oils or energy work, I tell people to get plenty of water, and rest and make sure that they take care of themselves for the next 7 to 10 days as the energies continue to incorporate. And in fact, if someone does a crystal healing on themselves, even with just a few stones, they can actually line those stones up in the same order that they had them on their body and sort of keep the intention of that crystal healing going while they continue to incorporate these energies.
Where do they line them up?
On a bedside table or an altar or any place that they feel they have a little space to honor the crystals. So I'm going to start taking them away.
Okay.
And in general, when I remove stones from a healing, I start at the top and work downward.
So you take off the last ones first.
Yeah, exactly. Because
why?
To keep the person grounded. It's easy to go out of body, we call it, energetically, where you feel so good you just float away. So it's good to take off the higher energy stones first so that you end up grounded enough to walk out into the world.
That's always good.
Yeah. So a nice opening of the pineal gland stone at your third eye, but a lot of crystals at the throat, which makes sense being someone who speaks as part of their life's work. It's always good to have a little heart healing.
Always good.
We all need that.
You mentioned something about drinking water. Why is that?
It's just a good practice to help the energies flow through. So if there's anything we're releasing energetically, water is very cleansing.
Okay.
And it keeps us hydrated, which if our body is going through shifts and changes is important. In general, it's just a good practice anyway, but a lot of people don't drink quite as much water as they should, perhaps. So it's also a good reminder of it's a way to take care of ourselves.
Okay.